Good morning, gamers. It's time for the Weekender. Your tour, along with us, around everything that's happening in gaming this week. I'm joined by Ben on the screen, Jerry in the chair, Justin in a chair,
Hello.
and Brother Lloyd
All right.
in a chair. And I am Warren. I'm just here for the
It's always
ride.
weird that bit when you get to yourself. I'm Warren. I'm Lloyd.
Yeah, it is weird introducing yourselves, because most of you by this stage know who the hell we are. But
We
it's
should
for the,
you
for the
would
old
hope
folk
so.
that come along and have wondered, well, what the hell is this? There are plenty. Every week there are people that wander through and onto this show and go,
What
who
is going
are
on?
these guys? Well, I've just explained
Yeah.
who we are.
It's hello from him.
It's a goodbye from him. Right, kicking off.
Yes.
If you're not aware, we are running a Star Wars hobby challenge over at on tabletop.com. Basically, you have the option to create a Star Wars project in the project system, and then about the end of the month, maybe a little bit longer, possibly, we might give a little bit of an extension, we'll see, but around the end of the month, we're going to be picking a couple of winners. And you can work on anything Star Wars that your heart desires. Because the project system is very flexible that way. We love seeing all sorts of kind of hobby projects. So you can paint a miniature. I'm having a crack at a cosplay, which will probably take longer than a month, but I'm going to at least do...
One of us.
Yeah.
One of us.
Yeah.
Finally.
So the journey of the fat Jedi... The fat alien Jedi, because I don't want anybody to see my face. So I'm Plo Koon, what are you shaking your head about, man?
You're going to go full force for this?
I am going full force, man. I am full.
I've
force.
seen some of his bits. They're interesting.
Yes. Me and Justin share a lot together.
Oi.
But I've got my head. What do you think of my head?
It needs some work.
Yeah, it's a
You know,
bit.
it's a bit too floppy. You need to stiffen it up.
Yes, and it's gribbly as hell.
Yeah,
So
that
it's-
and it's a bit off color.
yes, it's very pink.
Yeah, you might
It's
want
very
to go
pink.
and see a doctor about that.
I'm going to try and get it orange. It needs to be orange in this day and age.
Okay,
Along
so
with,
it's spray tan.
along with the claws.
Spray tan then.
So it's a project worth
Get
following
the
along.
fake bake on.
I will be keeping my progress. So I'm doing a cosplay. Other people are painting the miniatures. Some people are doing a bit of terrain. Some people are doing some 3D printing.
Haven't seen any bat reps yet.
You could do a bat rep. That's a great idea. Yeah, bat rep, army list.
Yeah.
Anything you want. Anything Star Wars. It's just a great way for us to collate some projects, do some stuff.
Someone's in there creating like a solar system or something, detailing planets and things as well.
That's cool.
Nice. That's a great idea. That is a great idea. So join in, and there'll be a handful of prizes. So mostly it's for hobby kudos, because we are a community. It's for hobby kudos, but we'll be giving out a smattering of prizes and stuff as well. All right, we'll get Justin 3D printing some cool stuff for you. Wouldn't that be cool?
You want some Baby Yodas? You want some Han Solos?
We'll see. We'll see what we come up with.
Only if you can get a dancing hand.
Mandalorians, man. Mandalorians.
You want
Mando's
Mandalorians?
where
I
it's
can
at.
do Mandalorians.
Now, while it's in my head, Jerry, community member Noijatat,
Yes.
with like a handful of Mandalorians.
Yes, that's fine.
Could you get him to get someone to ship a handful of Mandalorians to Noijatat, and then can you remind me to print him some replacement Mandalorians?
Gotcha.
I shall bring in a set that aren't off the gate yet, so you can do your own cleanup.
Yes, because he's
Yeah. Oh no.
he's very particular.
precise.
Very
So
particular.
am I,
very precise.
and I don't want to have to redo the work I've already done.
Right. So now that that's all solved, let's go on a journey. Right. The big news. Okay.
Yes.
The one I want to talk about. Okay, is Hero Forge 2.0, full color 3D printing.
Yeah. Last check, they're more than 2,000% funded.
Yep. Awesome in so many ways, but
Oh no,
missing
3,000.
Can't
but-
see it. Let's see it.
but missing the mark for me.
Let's lose
in
Ben for a
some
sec.
other ways.
It's pretty funded.
£1 million.
£1 million.
1 million quid.
$1 million.
And I have seen some of the video content for this.
Mm-hmm.
You can color each individual component of your miniature on this, like I was asking about last week.
Yes.
So it is really, really just, you can go to town on this.
It's really easy. It's a point and click, isn't it?
Point and click. You can do dry brush work. You can do shade work on this. Everything you can do. And then you've got the option, so you can either get it 3D color print it, or they're doing a professional paint it option as well, which is awesome.
Yeah,
That won't be cheap.
I
No, it
think
won't.
the professionally painted option is a mistake. To be honest, any Kickstarter I've ever seen do professionally painted has always struggled with that bit. I think it's a mistake, but it's their mistake to make. On the 3D printing side, right? Firstly, the software.
Yep.
I think the software looks amazing.
Yeah.
Let's go back up to the screenshot.
So, from the perspective of the actual software layer they've created for this, I think it really does look cool. I think it's a great system, and I think it's going to work really, really well.
Let's
But-
bring Ben back.
All right. Okay.
My concern is on the actual print output itself. Okay, I expected better
Okay.
than what we're
Have you
seeing.
got the post that's on our website about?
I do not.
Where you want to go and find that because
Yeah.
we put I took some extra
in
screen
the
grabs
show notes as
from
well.
the video because I knew we were going to be talking about this.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about the technology that's behind it. Okay. So the Hero Forge basically are creating the software layer. Okay. So they're creating the platform for you to be able to create custom 3D full color minis. For any role players out there, this is, as it stands, this is going to be great because you could create whatever character or whatever you want. And I've played with Hero Forge and created characters for my kids and stuff using it, and I had a blast. I created them. In my case, I just bought the STL file
Yeah.
and printed it out myself, and the results were great.
Got it.
Really, really interesting. They partner with Shapeways. Okay. So the next part of this is, none of us have a color 3D printer at home at the moment. So we're relying on this setup to get those 3D colored minis out of the system and into our hands. So they've partnered with Shapeways for this. Now, if we can lose Ben there for a second, okay, and bring this up full screen. So we've got website, printed, painted. We got Lloyd to go in and grab images of the minis and scale them up so that we could try and get an idea of the detail and stuff that's on them.
Well, if you go to the other shot, we can come back to the website, but specifically the most interesting bit is here's the 3D color. That one, yep, that
This
one
one?
there.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Here is the printed version, and here's the pro-painted version. Right? So 3D printed on the left, you can just about see the blank version,
Now,
and then the pro-painted on the right, which is a slightly different model.
it
here
is
in
a
this
slightly
example.
different model. Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is, that one on the right, the professionally painted, looks like a sharper print.
It
And
does.
if you're looking for an easy place to see that, look at the base.
Mm-hmm.
See how sharp the edges are on the base of the pro painted one compared to the 3D colored one.
Yeah. See, I think the pro painted one has a bit more shading and stuff in it, so those edges might look just a smidge sharper.
No.
Just
No.
look at the base.
No, just even if you look at the face,
Look at
it's so soapy.
look at the
There's
hand.
no detail.
The hands, in the comparison between the two.
I was going to say, in addition, if you look at, especially on their website themselves, if you look at what they do with their premium plastic level of print, the actual quality is way better than what we're seeing here. I
Yes. Now, let's talk a little bit about this. So, Shapeways are handling the printing out of the color minis and then sending them to you. Okay. Now, they're using a machine called the Mimaki 3DUJ553. It mean very little to you, but basically, it's another kind of 3D printing technology. Okay, so we know about the FDM. So the FDM is a filament printer. Forget about that. Filament printers are not the future in all of this stuff. They will never be able to do full
They're
color.
the Betamax.
Yeah.
They are the Betamax. They've had a
Honestly,
great start.
I think they'll still have their place just for like doing terrain and stuff, big components.
No.
They'll get superseded. The
They
cost
will,
of whatever superseded
yeah.
it will come down, and they'll be gone.
The technology.
Think dot matrix printer.
Yes, it is the dot matrix. It's great for what it is at the moment, but it's not the future of this technology because there are limitations to the level of detail and the level of quality that you're going to get with that technology. Okay. The next step is your resin 3D printers that are now, you get them in your home. You can get them for about a couple of £100. And what they do is you have a bath of resin. A layer comes down. It shines UV light to cure the resin in a particular layer pattern. It then rises, comes back down, fires a UV light to cure the next layer. And it basically builds up something layer by layer. The resolution is incredible. In all axes, because you have almost like the width of a light beam in terms of your resolution in this direction or in that direction, if you want to call it that way. And then the finer that they can get the actual moving up and down to work, you barely see any stepping and stuff in these miniatures now that you're able to print. I have one at home I'm using these days. I am utterly blown away by it. Utterly blown away by it. I couldn't print terrain on it because the bed size is quite small, but that's going to change because all it means is just a bigger UV screen.
Yeah,
you know,
which exists. It just costs an awful lot at the minute.
Yeah,
compared to it doesn't even cost that much. It's like $1,600 for a really big one at the minute.
Yeah, which will come down rapidly.
Yeah,
it will come down rapidly.
Well, I mean, like even the one that we have, the Photon here in the office. Before Christmas, John picked up a Mech Warrior miniature. And he had me print out the components for it. And some of them were pretty big. I mean, like the main chest was about the size of my fist.
Yeah.
And I was fit to print that out.
Yeah. But that technology is never going to be able to do full color either. Okay? It just isn't. There's no chemistry that I can think of that would allow that method to print something in full color. So this technology uses something similar to inkjet printing, okay? So what you do is you have a bed, okay, and you have your head, your print head, basically goes like that, okay? And as it's working its way across, it's pulling in a mixture of pigments. So that's why something like this is able to do like 10 million colors.
Yeah.
Because what it can do is it can bring in the correct amount of pigment exactly the same way as your inkjet printer would do it. Okay. So it prints that up, and then the other thing that it does, which gives you the potential for a really clean print, is where the model isn't, it puts down a water soluble material. Okay. Which means that the whole thing is basically printed in a block of something. And then you put that block into water, and then all the water-soluble stuff goes away, and you have no fixed supports.
No cleanup to do.
No cleanup to do, no clipping or anything of that nature. Now, what has thrown me is I expected better quality prints from this.
Machine?
That's the machine there, I believe.
Yeah.
All £200,000 worth.
Yep. Big money.
Yeah. Big size of a bet on it.
But here's the thing. Depending obviously on patents and things like that there, once you start to get into a technology like this, I was talking about this in the community in our forums, because we're talking about disruptive technologies, and somebody saying, well, at £30 a miniature, I can't see how this is disruptive. I said, no, when we're talking disruptive technologies, we're not talking about this particular Kickstarter or even this particular company. We're talking about where the technology and the combination of technologies has got to, because two things we are pretty sure about technologies. A, they will always come down in cost. And if they're consumer orientated or have a consumer potential for the consumer market, they will drop in cost supremely fast. Okay? A resin printer used to set you back 50 grand.
Yeah.
We now pick them up, and they can do as good a quality, if not better, than those resin printers at 50 grand for 200 quid. You know, 4K TVs used to be 6 grand.
Yeah.
Now you're picking them up for 300 or 400 quid. we know that the cost will come down. The other thing that comes down is the ease of use. Okay, Justin, whenever we first got our resin printer, we had to sit and build all the supports manually.
Well, it did auto support, but the programming wasn't good enough that it would do it consistently and cover all of the little islands and stuff. Since we downloaded the latest version, it's far superior just because they've had time to work the kinks out of the programming.
They're getting better. It gets easier and easier to use.
Well, it's the first iteration of anything will always be the weakest version of it. It's something you were talking about when you were talking about buying new versions of 3D printers. Now, we have the i3 Megas in here, right? They're a perfect example. We have 3 of those.
Yes.
We have one Gen 1 and 2 later generation ones. That Gen 1 3D printer is the most pain in the ass out of all 3 of them to use.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. So we know that will come down, and that's where technology like this is disruptive. The second thing is, if there is a consumer potential for this, because it's similar to inkjet printing technology, I wouldn't be surprised if you have your HPs, your Epsons, and your Canons in their labs all looking very closely, if they haven't already been for the last couple of years, looking very closely at this technology, because it's not a kick in the ass from their area of expertise anyway. Okay? Now, this particular machine, the Mimaki 3D UJ553, is in its specs, it's spec to be able to do 20 micron, okay? And that's what's throwing me, because
This machine here.
yeah, I expected the output of the 3D models for this to be superior to what we're seeing. So I'm wondering if Shapeways aren't using the machine at its highest resolution. Now, this could be a speed thing from production point of view. They're doing it at 40 micron instead of 20 micron.
Could be. Or it could be it could be just a cool spec where it's able to do that res at one color. So let's just list that as the possible spec.
Yeah.
Even though it can't do that at a multicolor.
No, apparently I've been looking into the specs of this machine.
And that's it, full color.
And it can do full color apparently at 20 micron.
Okay.
Right. So here's what I had a community member say. Maybe it's the interjection of the pigments that's making it go a bit soapy, but that's not the case, because 99% of the resins that we use in 3D printing contain a pigment. That's where you get a red resin from, or a gray resin from, or a black resin from. They already have pigment in it, and we know that it's capable of doing razor sharp things. So it's nothing to do with the pigment. I think this is purely down to Shapeways choosing a lower quality print than perhaps what this machine is capable of. I could be completely wrong.
It could
I'll
also
hold my hands up
be
now to say
the
that.
final file that's being sliced out, so it might be slightly lower poly whenever they finally slice it out of the online program as well.
There'd be no reason
because
for
they
it.
already, the other ones are sharper image. They already make the sharper image ones.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Benjamin? No.
I was going to say, could it just be a case of, and I did think about this a second as well, but like, could it be one of those things where it's a case of prohibitive cost? Like maybe if they tried to go for that higher quality, the cost would have leapt up to near enough to that kind of professional painting standard. So this kind of gives them a different
Well, the
level.
cost of something will
runtime,
double. The cost of something will double, and the reason is it'll have to print twice as much layers.
Yeah.
You know, if it's doing something at 20 micron as opposed to 40 micron, then each layer is 20 microns less. So you need twice the number of
Possibly
layers.
takes the exact same amount of time to do a 20 micron layer as it does to do a 40 micron layer.
And this brings me to something that I brought up when I was writing the piece earlier in the week as well, is that clearly there's a market for this level of print anyway.
Yes.
Because the amount of people that have backed this, and as I was saying as well, there's a lot of people.
16,000 backers suggest that this is something that we want in this industry.
There's a lot of people who are playing a lot more role-playing games now and skirmish games or whatever, and they want their character done in color, and they don't really give a hoot about the painting side of things. And so clearly this is a corner of the market that desperately wants to have this kind of model on the tabletop. So
Well, here's the thing. Could it just be production then? They've gone, we can print to this quality, we can print to this quality in, when are they planning on delivery? If you scroll down, it will say, due to deliver. Keep going. It will say there.
It's looking at June 2020.
Right. So maybe
that's not far off.
Yeah, maybe they predicted we will get. Let's say they were going, well, we've got a 32 grand limit. If everybody's backed at this amount, this will be X number of people. Therefore, we've got 6 months to produce X number. And if we go bigger than that, so they've simply looked at it and gone, sort of, we'll tell people we're printing to this quality. if they're happy enough to back it at this quality, we know we can produce that within timescales.
Yes.
And then down the line, when they don't have 17, 20,000 to produce it in 6 months, when they're back to 5 people a day or whatever it is, who normally go, oh, I need a new goblin shaman for my D&D campaign, they may have higher resolutions because they know that they're not having to worry about the production point of view.
It also allows them to release a higher quality product later.
I'm not even worried about the later on thing. It might just be that they've pitched low, and if they reach that level, people are happy with it because they know they're getting it. If they show what they can do in the decent quality print, and then they go, we can't manufacture these in time, we're going to knock it back a few notches, and people receive something that doesn't look like there'll be a bigger kick up.
I was also going to say that when Hero Forge first came out, and it's sort of like 1.0 iteration, the prints that they did were, middling level style 3D prints.
Yeah.
But, they were still acceptable to people. There's still a lot of marks on them and things. Now they're high quality sort of premium plastic versions that they do are really, really phenomenal prints. And so maybe this is going to be another case where we're going to see it at this level. And then, as you say, if they can, perfect this, they can step it up in the future.
Oh, absolutely. This
So-
particular technology has huge potential. It has really huge potential because it's, like I said, inkjet has been around for a long time now, and inkjet doesn't look like it's going anywhere. This is somewhat similar. I think that this could be. I'm struggling to think of another way to create a good quality 3D full color object. I really am struggling to.
Your only other way
to do
is
it.
to create the object and then physically have something painted.
Yeah,
like a robotic airbrush booth.
You've got one of the companies, they do the Sundrop paint job on some of their stuff, and it's all done by machine.
No, what's a Sundrop paint job?
What was the company? Archon, we're doing it. So it's basically, you've got your base coat, you've got a shade on there, and they've basically got a machine that just hits the high points, gives it a zenith.
Right, no, something completely different. That's not a full color mini. So
that's as close as I can think to it.
Jerry, I agree. Based on, if my assumptions are correct, that's not the highest quality print that machine is capable of, I think that is probably the reasoning behind it, because I'm fairly certain that to print it at the highest quality is going to take twice the length of time.
Which is delivery date of not June, but the end of the year instead.
Yeah. So I have a feeling that is probably the way of it. Now, it's disappointing because the render that they put up was razor sharp, and I suspect that they can get closer to that.
Yeah.
Closer to that.
It'd be interesting. Apparently, GW looked into that machine last year. And then went, not for us, not right now. But I imagine they'll be back.
That's interesting. Can you?
So it was middle of the summer.
Can you talk around the source of that info, or
just a community member / guy in the industry?
Yeah,
who's up that neck of the woods. But they were, I don't know whether they were down with Shapeways or what, but they had people at a like a CES
trade show kind of a thing,
show type of thing, looking into it.
Games Workshop's looking into all this stuff.
Yeah. They have to.
They'd be silly not to.
Because this is what I was going to say, is that the next two companies that need to be seriously looking at this, the two most obvious ones that I can think of are Wizards of the Coast and Games Workshop.
Yeah.
Even if Games Workshop took that technology into Forge World to begin with, for its first couple of years of iteration, where you could buy a custom Primarch or a custom Captain,
even if it wasn't full colored, a custom one, just a full color Primarch that you could buy.
Yeah. But I'll tell you,
here's the thing, right? If you look at the software, go back to one of the screens where it's painting and getting on. Even if Games Workshop just took the software and pitched it as a design your mini help you paint sort of thing.
Well, that's
for
what
the
they're
first
doing here.
for the first. Yeah, that's it. Even if they pitched their softwares, this doesn't make models, but it helps you try out all your paint schemes. But realistically, what they know they're doing is they're building a model production software.
Hero Forge already are pitching it as that, just in these two images here.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it look, 16,000 backers, £1 million.
They're almost at 17,000 backers. I have a question though. So they say delivery is June 2020.
Yes.
Is that your miniature is delivered, or the software is delivered for you to then design your miniature?
I don't know.
Yeah, it will say in there.
It'll probably
I
be.
believe there is a clarification on it. I think there's a certain point during the middle of the year where they start to accept the files from people who've backed, and then they'll print from that point onwards, I believe. So,
Okay.
But it's there's two big takeaways from this that the Games Workshop have got to be looking at. One is they've got to be looking at the perspective of there must be serious demand for our toys to come in color, that people don't have to paint it, especially in the States. I think the mindset in the States is if the States had the option to get the Games Workshop products already in color, but to a good quality, you know, I think it would go mad. Look, this technology has the potential to do Heraldez level color schemes at some point in the future. You know, because again, you know, look at where inkjet was 20 years ago, right? And then look at where inkjet was 10 years ago. You went from a resolution where you were printing basically block colors, I remember 30 years ago, to the point that you were printing photographs at a higher resolution than you could get from the chemist or the pharmacy or whatever you were getting.
Wherever
your
your photo place was,
were developed at the time. We know that technology has micro scale, you know, it's opportunities for resolution. So, you know, a combination of getting the pigmentation right and the color vibrancy right, you know, there's so much potential in the likes of this. There really is. I just totally see a Wizards of the Coast where you go onto their D&D online or their D&D platform, and as you're speccing up your character, you could also design your character, and they will ship it to you full color. I can see you going onto a Forge World or whatever of Games Workshop, but ultimately, that's the printing side. But they're bound to be looking at this and saying, "I wonder what the demand is. If we were able to find a technology to mass produce in color, I wonder what the demand felt."
We know that's where it's going.
And who would pay the premium for it?
It's going to be a consumer product. It's going to be in your house. You're going to have your TV. You're going to have your microwave, and you're going to have your 3D full color printer. That's just the way it's going to be.
I think if these other companies are looking at it, Warren, they're not going to throw the customizability side into it. I think it'll just be what they are giving you, same as what you've always had. You will get this pose with this color scheme, and you might have a secondary color scheme.
Possibly, I don't know. Possibly,
no. If they wanted to go down, like Games Workshop will probably look at it from a point of view of going, well, our sculptors will do an amazing sculpt, and then we'll give you loads of different paint options. Not this scheme, that scheme, this scheme. We'll let you actually paint it properly like that.
But then they have to design the program to allow them to do that, and they're playing catch up with Hero Forge at that point.
Or they just buy Hero Forge.
Games Workshop's a much bigger company probably than Hero Forge.
Yeah. Look,
right?
Games Workshop were valued this week at £2.3 billion.
Serious? Wow.
They're not going to sit on their hands and not come up with this. But that's good because, to be honest, I'm looking at this and I go, I like the idea of maybe mucking around with the paint schemes, but I don't know if I can be arsed actually going in and designing full squads. So I'd like to be able to just go, here's the squad, right, here are my colours. Here's a variant of the squad.
Well, if
fine,
you remember,
that'll be what I do there.
The original Dawn of War allowed you to paint up your own Space Marine chapters.
Yeah.
If I remember right. They had that function in there.
There'll be people in there at the moment looking at Hero Forge and saying, well, let's just buy them. Because the thing is, they are generating so much cash right now. I mean, so much surplus cash. They could basically just have Jez Goodwin not buy vodka for a week and take that and buy Hero Forge with it.
Harsh.
But I mean, like, they're just the bar bill that would cover the purchase of that company. That's how much cash they are generating at the moment.
Although I don't know, with this Kickstarter, I'm sure the value of that company just went through the roof a good chunk.
But nothing compared to
nothing compared to
the purchasing power that they have right now.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe Asmodee will look at them and go, "We'll have that."
No, it'll be Hasbro.
Hasbro? Well, is Hasbro not Asmodee?
No.
Okay. I thought there was some affiliation there.
No.
Okay.
Hasbro is Wizards of the Coast.
Okay.
Hasbro are still by and far the most enormous company. And from what I can gather, D&D still turns more money than Games Workshop. Okay? And D&D Games Workshop of about 3,000 staff. I think Wizards of the Coast of about 30 staff. Okay, so
I don't think it's that many.
so it's like in terms of cash cows, there's your two big players there, and both of them could completely benefit from that. If I had the deep pockets that they had, I'd be owning Hero Forge right now.
You see, this is why I'm kind of looking at Asmodee, because
I'd be owning Hero Forge. I'd be taking Shapeways out of the equation. And I'd be putting the machines in direct, and bringing it all in house.
You see, I'm looking at it from the viewpoint of Asmodee would probably look at them and go yum yum yum, because then they could look at doing full color board games being run out.
Not at the moment. Asmodee are in full cost cutting mode at the moment.
They've been trimming people back.
Yeah. So Asmodee were sold recently for 1.4 billion or something.
Okay, I hadn't heard that.
So the owners that are currently there, I think, are now into trimming mode to try and cut all the fat, see where the profit centers are, and let the business flourish from there.
Yeah,
so.
but this is something I would look at this technology and go, we all like our war games, but it might be an easier proposition for a company to do a full color board game with miniatures.
Yeah, do that all right. That's why you get red meeples, green meeples. It'd be amazing what you do with paint and wood. Don't need miniatures for board games.
Hero Forge, an absolutely fascinating prospect. You know, it's just what we're witnessing this in this last few months. It's been incredible.
It wouldn't be that long a time scale though for something like this to end up going. You know, you'll have a successful company doing it, and then you'll have an open source version come along.
Yeah,
possibly.
Like Blender 3D.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if Prusa goes down that route. So Prusa is the created the open source FDM. So do you know all any Cubics and the Waymos or whatever the others are?
Yeah.
Okay?
The
WeWas. They're all based on the Prusa model. Okay, so Prusa open sourced that, and then they've all taken that project, and then that's what they have built from.
Yeah.
So Prusa have a resin printer out now. Okay, I imagine once again it's probably open sourced in terms of how it's doing. So it'll be interesting to see if the likes of Prusa are looking at this.
And going, can we build a full color 3D printer?
There's so many possibilities here between the big Xeroxy, Canon, HP guys, between the Wizards of the Coast and your Games Workshops, and then your other printer manufacturers like the Anycubics are bound to be looking at this and going, I wonder, can we create this in a small bed form factor? Yeah. The thing about it is, it's so different from what they're all doing. Yeah. It's so much more complicated.
Yeah.
FDM, you're basically pulling through. It's a robot. Yeah. Okay.
It's drawing a line.
It's just a robot that has a feeder that feeds something through,
and it draws a line in 3D space.
The same with your resin printer.
CAT scan.
It's a robot with a screen. Okay, this is something different. Now you're into mixing pigments. You're into inkjet technologies. You're into print nozzles. You're into a lot of very, very precision engineering kind of stuff. The other stuff, it's precision, but not precision to that level.
Now, if you want a home version of this, it has to be a self-contained unit that you close the door and tell it to go.
Yeah, pretty much like all of it.
Yeah, that's years away yet.
Yeah.
But it will arrive.
Yeah. It's interesting, and I'm very excited for it.
Okay. It's just so exciting. Right. In other news, let's talk about the news, okay? I want to quickly do a shout out first to Victoria Miniatures, okay? Because they're running a Bushfire charity relief thing at the moment, okay? Ben, what can you tell us about it, buddy?
Yeah, so throughout the entire month of January, Victoria Miniatures are selling a particular tank, the Kangaroo APC, which is very fitting, obviously, for Australia. And for everyone sold, $50 of that, Australian dollars, obviously, will go towards the RSPCA in Australia and funding the relief for the animals down there in the horrible bushfires that are raging across the continent. So they've already managed to raise and send off at least 10,000 Australian dollars, which is pretty insane. And there's meant to be a lot more coming as well. So everyone's been jumping on board and helping out from the community. So if you want yourself a tank and you want to help charity, there's a nice option to do something with that. So there you go.
And I just would like to put a personal shout out to all of our Australian buddies, because we know that there's a number of you that have family and friends that have actually lost their homes, and we know at least one or two of you that have actually lost friends in this last few months. And it's our hearts do go out to you guys. We know it's an absolute disaster out there. So fingers crossed that rain starts to come for you guys, and you can get it settled down.
Yeah, although huge respect to all of the firefighters who have been out there
Jesus,
fighting. And
yeah.
I've actually seen stories of firefighters from other countries volunteering to just go across and help fight the fires over there.
The scale's
It's just
immense.
insane.
Because I was looking on the BBC and they did this thing where they basically put, so the fires basically cover the entire region of England.
Yeah.
I think it's probably more than that.
More than that, no, probably.
Yeah.
No, they had like this circle and go right over the middle of Great Britain, and it just covered all of England. They said that's all burnt.
Yeah, and just the ins and outs of it. I think a lot of it is eucalyptus trees and stuff like that there. So it's just really
I mean, like the
bad stuff.
the damage done to the environment of Australia and just their local wildlife.
I do wonder,
Wow.
on the bright side of all of this, I know that there's been a massive carbon release as a result of the fire, but I do wonder, because a lot of those trees, those species of tree, can only actually germinate as a result of a fire. Bushfires is not something out of the ordinary in that sense.
It's the scale of them.
In this case, it is the scale of them, and the high temperatures is just making it like a tinderbox. But I do wonder if that massive carbon output will be offset by the
New growth.
the new growth that is ultimately going to come off the back of this. So fingers crossed that something like that happens, and that the country can get. Climate change isn't going to change for the better for a good long while. So hopefully the country can find some ways of mitigating this kind of thing from happening in the future. But I don't fancy that task. It's certainly not easy. Next up, Modern Warfare fans, Spectre have put out a starter set.
Yeah, so this is a very limited time offer that they're doing at the moment. So they're not going to be doing this forever. So if you want to get stuck into some Modern Warfare gaming on the tabletop, this is a perfect time to go over and check out the Spectre Miniatures website. Currently, they're doing a little bit of a bundle, which gives you a little bit of a saving on it normally, which will allow you to have both a 7-man team of task force operators going up against a team of 7-man GRU Spetsnaz troops as well. You'll also get the rulebook in the mix there too. And this is basically set at the level so that you can dive straight into the game, play with those high-tier soldiers, and really dive into the whole kind of Modern Warfare era sort of style of warfare on the tabletop. These guys have been going for quite a while now. They're a very small operation. There's only maybe like a handful of them working at Spectre, but they do some absolutely amazing stuff. And a lot of people in the comments and stuff have been diving in and saying that they're really interested in getting stuck into this kind of era of warfare right now. So this is a pretty good opportunity to try and do something like that.
There's some gorgeous stuff in that starter set. I love is it the Spetsnaz are on the right, Ben?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
so you got Spetsnaz on the right and the task force operators on the left. Yeah.
I see
I'm
Blaine
digging
in there. Do you see Blaine? Go on, have a look at it. He's a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus. It looks awesome. It looks absolutely awesome.
very
I
cool.
love it. That's just pure Call of Duty there, Justin.
Yeah, it
That
really is.
pure Call of Duty right
Yeah,
there.
really is.
One of the interesting things that I think should be sort of looked at when it comes to the Spectre side, and we've talked about this before in the past when we talked about their model range as a whole, but the Spectre game itself, operations, really lends itself to not only just solo and also, 1 versus 1 play, but also multiplayer, and also the idea of including a games master into the mix as well. As we talked about it before in terms of setting up scenarios and objectives, having somebody being that kind of eagle-eye view over the table and setting up surprises for your team and all that kind of thing really adds a little bit more of a different element to the game. And so, works really nicely with what they're doing here. So it's well worth going to check it all out, especially with their updated version of the rules as well, because they've really gone back in and tweaked a bunch of stuff as well. So it'll be really good to check it out.
Awesome.
Cool.
Continuing on with that theme, in Flames of War, World War III British pre-orders have now opened.
Yeah, so this is from the guys over at Battlefront Miniatures. Towards the end of last year, they were talking about the fact that this year was going to be a big new hit for them when it came to World War III and sort of revamping Team Yankee for for everybody else and across all the different factions.
Mhm.
So this is the first bunch of stuff that we're going to be seeing, which looks at the British. So we're going to be getting a new British book. There's also a new British starter set, and there's going to be a whole bunch of extra releases with some very iconic vehicles and planes and that kind of thing throughout the rest of January. Through into February and into March as well. So if you're really interested in getting stuck into World War III and playing around with the British in the game, make sure you go and check this out. Obviously, they're going to be looking at the other factions as well. So you're going to have the Americans, the Germans, and the Soviets in there too.
Oh god, there's Harriers in it.
Everybody's favorite jump jet.
Oh my word. Oh, I am utterly sold.
Yeah, there's one or two of the guys down at the club that are dying to lay their hands on the Challengers.
Oh, John is bound to be having a heart attack at this. Were they Puma helicopters that were further up?
Scrolling up.
Can anybody identify them in there?
There you go.
I can check for you for 1 sec if you give me 1 second.
What's the big Russian helicopter?
The
one from Rambo.
Hind?
The Hind.
Hind.
That's it. Yes.
You know the US nicked one of them.
Did they steal a Hind?
Yeah.
How?
Because the
Dropped in
Russians,
John Rambo and told him to fetch it.
the Russians had sold one to another Middle East sort of country,
Yeah.
and then it was like at an airbase, and I'm pretty sure it was the Americans did like a raid where they took over the airbase and then brought in a Chinook, and then attached the helicopter, dismantled some of it, and then flew it out.
With on a Chinook.
Slung underneath the Chinook so they could reverse engineer it to find out what was happening with it.
Because they probably didn't have anybody that could fly it.
Well, if nobody spoke Russian or read
That and
Russian.
the fact it may not have been fueled up, and trying to steal a helicopter, where's the fuel tanks, boys?
So what they did,
Where's the on button?
they had an operation where they went in, took over the airbase,
Yeah.
and then while they were taking over the airbase, then they sent crew with them that could dismantle like propellers and stuff off the helicopter, get it ready for transport, and then another mission came in with a couple of Chinooks to take it out.
Well, there's a Spectre operations
And
game
then-
right
That
there.
is a spec up game.
And then they
That's
loaded
very
it up onto one of their big jets in the back of the cargo
Oh, right.
hood and flew it back to the States.
Ridiculous.
good. Well, Ben, is it a Puma?
The website for Battlefront is being very slow at the moment, so
That's
I will
a
find
yes.
out as soon as it loads.
Okay.
But,
Well, anyway, I am loving this. That starter set, that British starter set, is gorgeous. Look at it.
one of the things they did say towards the end of last year when they were looking at stuff for Team Yankee and World War III is they were going to try and make it so that the starter sets themselves were absolutely packed full of stuff.
Yes.
So as you can see here,
they've
obviously you can see
achieved
that
that.
There's also going to be like a big World War III set that combines everything together. So I think it's going to have the Americans versus the Soviets in there, and there's loads of bits.
New 2-player start set.
Oh, that would be amazing.
It's nice because they are pushing the World War III aspect of it.
Which I like. I like the fact that their message has been simplified to it's not like Team Yankee, the massive logo. World War III is the massive
but
logo.
They've also, it means they can pull in the Arab-Israeli stuff, the oil war stuff that they've
yeah.
done
And
separately.
consolidated
so
it all.
now they're just going, instead of having Team Yankee and then you've got your oil wars, they've just gone, well, no, they're all more or less contemporaneous.
Yes.
Just put them together and go World War III, and you can do everything from Middle East up.
I do like the look of the Israeli forces with the Merkavas.
Oh, it's just such a cool range, and a cool range at a great scale, because that's the perfect scale for your World War III stuff, because there's so much armor and stuff involved. Awesome.
Yeah,
Absolutely
do we need to
awesome.
build Ludoslavia once again?
Well, I think we absolutely do. I'd like to try something different. I would like to do Red Dawn.
Ooh, that could be
I'd like to
interesting.
do a World War III in America.
Yeah,
The Russian invasion.
Not the remake.
there was no remake.
Well,
don't worry.
you see,
It never happened.
there was the original, there was the remake, and then there was the Australian knockoff.
Oh, I can always do a knockoff. Yeah, but if we're going to
Knock
do
off,
it,
not knock one off.
all right, okay. If we're going to do it, then definitely Red Dawn. Let's take it to the States. And because you can imagine if Foreground did their Homeland America stuff at 15 mil.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it'd be amazing. It would be absolutely awesome.
I love a word.
I think Battlefront do McDonald's for Team Yankee already.
They
Yeah.
do,
Yeah, so there's already a 15 mil McDonald's, so you're
We're
all
going to need a school.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You
Go
need just
Wolverines.
like classic high street America.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. It'd be absolutely awesome. Yeah, well, guys, get stuck in. Get stuck in. It's a great game. Right. Vikings and Varangians. Oh, look at these.
Byzantines.
Yeah. So this is a little bit of one for Jerry and Lloyd here. As always, I like to throw something in from the Dark Age and medieval period for them to check out.
You're too good to us.
Leading the way, first off, we've got some stuff from V&V Miniatures. So there's two different stories we're going to look at here. So the first one's from V&V, who have done a new set which features the famous Harold Hardrada and his retinue of warriors,
who is going to be the star of the new Vikings series, apparently.
Yes.
Wait,
well,
what do you mean? Oh, you mean the
stand,
one that's set 100 years later? That one? The
yes,
one from Netflix?
This is the one that is set at the point of the Battle of Hastings, basically, and around that. So,
some of these guys.
Look at them. They're beautiful, Ben.
Yeah, so there's some really good stuff. I assume you're still looking at the V&V Miniatures.
Yes, we are, yeah.
They are really nice stuff that they've been doing. V&V have been doing a lot of Viking stuff over the past couple of years now. A lot of their character models that you can see here are done in the resin, so obviously it's nice high quality stuff for your characters and that kind of thing there too. They also do a bunch of models that could be used as like Hearthguard and warriors at the same time as well. But I think if you want to go that extra step and spend a bit more money and get these.
Well, you
nice
mean that
resin
extra
for your
step
characters.
of like step onto foot on rock?
That's how you
Well,
know.
yeah.
That's how you know
need
he
to
is
do
the
that,
last
of course,
Viking.
yeah.
Take it the guy with the foot on rock is Harold Hardrada, is he?
Yeah, so the guy that is Harold is the guy on the rock with his sword behind his head because he's wearing the slightly different styled armor.
Yeah, he's got the lamellar scale stuff on him. I love the quilting on
And then
that.
the rest of the guys there are some of his retainers that you could use as part of a Hearthguard unit, or maybe even as part of a larger scenic base if you want to put your warlord.
The quilted guys are gorgeous. And then your guy with the horn looks like one of the old Games Workshop high elves.
Yeah,
He's rocking the standard.
Really weirdly, yeah.
The details right down to them having a sax on there.
They have their sacks out there.
Yeah, the dagger.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were getting your clippers out there, Justin.
No.
They do a really nice range.
V&V are beautiful. Yeah.
Shockingly beautiful.
Gorgeous. And then you've Varangians and Ben as well, yeah?
Yeah, so the guys at Fireforge Games are going to be coming to Kickstarter later this year. A lot of people will remember that they did a Kickstarter where they looked at the Forgotten World range, which is their full sort of fantasy range in plastic. Now they look to be coming back to Kickstarter with a whole range of Byzantium stuff. And this is just the teaser of some of the Varangian Guard that you can use if you're going to be building up a Byzantine force from the Dark Ages and sort of that kind of period as well, going into the early medieval too.
It'd be nice
I'm
to...
not entirely sure. Sorry, I'm not entirely sure with that. Sorry, go on.
No, bring it back. It'd be nice to get some of these guys here with the shin guards as well, because that's very Varangian.
I love
And
that.
they've just
You are
dropped them all.
such a grognard, Lloyd.
Just a few of them.
Well, maybe it'll be a stretch goal. Stretch goal,
goal.
pure machine guards.
Well, as far as I can tell from what they've sort of done in the past anyway, I'd assume these are going to be part of a new plastic set because they tend to be moving towards that right now, which hopefully means, as well as you can see these guys here with the big Dane axes, we might see some options for them to have just, their normal hand weapons and shields as well. And maybe they'll mix up things to do, slightly more, more like higher level, higher ranking Varangian Guard as well, potentially there too.
Also, they may just go full on busies then, so we might get to see like frat cavalry and light cav scouts, that sort of thing.
Which would be awesome because I like their plastic models, but I'm not keen on any of their resin models for the Byzantines.
They have already teased, I believe it was a Byzantine commander figure, so that probably is going to be part of this Kickstarter as well. And I would imagine we're going to see something on the cavalry side too, to kind of give you that edge, since it's such an iconic,
Are these guys related in some way to the Viking Russ?
Yes.
Yes.
Essentially, a lot of the Viking Russ went off to be Varangians.
Right. Okay.
Hence the puffy. You can't really see it there, but on the V&V ones, you can definitely see it. So if you skip back to V&V, faster.
There you go.
So they've got the puffy pants into the boots, which is very Russ-like.
Yes.
And then the Russ and the Byzantines were very close in relations. Like the Russ took on the Byzantine religion of Orthodoxy and stuff. So there's a big overlap between the two. So basically you could buy these and go, they're Russ, or you could buy some Russ and go, they're Varangians. Interchangeable, basically.
Swap back and forth. And then eventually just go, there's Harold. He's decided to go back up north and go, I'm king of all of this now.
Which is why I'm quite tempted by this Kickstarter. I'm looking forward to seeing some of it, see some more of it.
Yeah.
Have you finished what you have already?
No, but who doesn't want more?
Next up, Dark Angels and more Battle Sisters this weekend.
Yeah, so this is your little injection of 40k stuff into your weekend viewing. And leading things off, we've got the release of all the stuff that we kind of saw in previews from previous weeks. We've got some names for all these things now. So on the sort of larger side of things, we've got the different variations of the Penitent engines, which we saw before, which had the prisoners housed inside them. But as well as that, they've also got a new sort of Walker variation that's going to be coming out called the Mortifier. So the Mortifier is effectively, think a Battle Sisters Adeptus Sororitas Dreadnought. It contains the body of a Sororitas, a Sister of Battle, who has decided to pledge themselves almost eternally to the Ecclesiarchy, and so is entombed within this massive chassis of this beast, and now effectively fights in permanent death, effectively.
Nice.
So that's going to be coming, which sounds very cool. As well as that, we've also got the Arco-Flagellants. So we looked at those again last week, but that's your sort of like kill word style, weird bionically enhanced assassins and crazy people that you can throw onto the battlefield. And then, as well as that, we've also got the Exorcist, which is effectively the big, huge, explosive rocket-firing organ. We've got the Hospitaller as well, so you've got a little bit more of a medic to throw into the mix to keep all your battle sisters alive. And then finally, there is Judith Aristeia, who is the new battle floating pulpit of war style character.
The one I hate.
I love that.
Much.
I hate it.
Oh no, I love that. That is proper grim dark.
The fact she's called Judith.
Yes. A battle pulpit, Justin, is exactly what that army needed.
See,
I love that to bits.
See, I have been arguing with John back and forth about this, and every time he looks at it, he loses a little bit more love for it until now he agrees with me that it's kind of poo.
Oh, you're talking out your arse. It's
Well, hang on, which out of the three of us, you, me, and John, which one's the Battle Sisters player? It's John.
yeah, but out of the three of us, which one has taste? It's me. So it's fantastic.
No.
It is absolutely fantastic. You can totally see. Look, when the Battle Sisters come out, right? Everything that they have is so ornate. It's all about the organ, man. They just love all that stuff, right?
Is this out yet? Is this coming?
It's coming out this weekend. Yeah.
Right, so that's why this is
No,
big.
pre-order this weekend, out next.
So I can totally see Judith, the
Charmers.
the Sergeant Battle Nun, flying around in her battle pulpit, preaching it hard, man. Oh, dude.
It's proper bow.
That is amazing.
You tell
it
me.
is amazing.
I'm not a fan of the fact it floats. They keep adding too many floaty things in that shouldn't
There's a
have
lot of
things.
floaty things.
I would have just had it on tracks.
Battle pulpit on tracks. Do you know
That
what?
I could live with a bit better. If there's
Really?
a conversion kit for that, I could live with
But
that
simple,
better.
just buy one of the AdMech tracky things.
Yeah.
Whip the flamers off the bottom, stick it on, whoosh, away you go. There's like 5 of them over there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. See?
Have we got a close cam? Have we got a close cam?
A close cam?
Yeah, cut that close cam.
Not right now. I don't think I've framed one up.
We might be able to make this work.
You might be able to make it work. Here.
Give it a go.
There you go.
Try it, Lloyd.
Right. So stick it in. There you go. Carefully. Right. There you go. There. So all you have to do, right? Bring the other
some of
image
those.
up on screen and flick between them.
I don't think it's in focus, but yeah.
Yeah, it's close enough, right? So obviously not that one,
Where'd it
Justin.
I
Go
was-
to the
I
battle
was having a
sisters.
look around.
There. Okay. So all you have to do is take cut to
Yeah,
Justin's
so
hand.
Get the track unit off this.
Yeah.
And
And
put
then
it on that.
stick that on top of that track unit.
Yeah, and then figure out a mounting for the flamers on the sides.
I wouldn't even
And I
worry.
would be happy.
No, I wouldn't even bother putting them on. Just go, yeah, she fires it off from the twin things on the back of her there.
That'll
Yeah,
work.
There's your
twin-
flamers.
twin
Yeah, that'll
flames, Yeah.
Don't need to
Yeah, that
gild the
would,
lily on that one.
that would feel
once
a
you've
bit
got your
better to me
tracks.
than just a random floating pulpit.
Or scroll up to the Exocet. It's Exocet, isn't it?
Exorcist.
Exorcist.
This
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Or you buy an extra one of them and stick her on that.
again, I can live with that.
Stick a battle pulpit onto that. Do a nice conversion.
Yep. And the
stuff.
nice thing is, this one doesn't have stained glass on it.
Well,
What's
Because you only need that flame later.
However, there is a battle sister who's operating the Exorcist from the top of it, who's wearing a stained glass helmet, which looks very cool.
oh, here, let's see that.
Oh yeah.
Get in there to we
Right
see that
there.
stained glass helmet.
Bottom middle.
Oh, there it is. Oh, that is so
That's
cool.
That's weird.
The art direction on this is incredible. But I've got to say, I disagree with both of you. So much as the tracks could be cool, I like the
I know
floating-
you like your floating.
the floating. Well, I don't like floating in general, but in this specific case,
You all float down here.
this particular floater is fine by me. I think the floating battle
I
pulpit
think it'd be
is the
cool.
way to go.
It'd be cool if we quantum locked it. Then it would be cool.
Quantum locked it? What is that?
You know, using a superconductor and a magnet, and then
Oh, yeah.
quantum lock it in
So
position.
So you don't need
Because what would be really cool is because
The
you would
flight
have
stand.
you would have your base,
Yeah.
and because your superconductor is so cold, she'd be moving around with a big cloud of vapor underneath her.
Oh.
Now, I do quite like the medic they have here.
Yeah.
Just because it's more than just a medic. You've got a fallen sister on the base along with her. I think it's a nice little bit of a story to the model.
It's an
Justin,
interesting model
sometimes
that-
I think you just are looking for something to say. Because in a release where we're looking at a massive exorcist tank
Yeah.
and a floating battle pulpit,
Yeah.
you say, oh, that's nice because it's got a dead body on the bottom.
It's nice to have a little bit of a diorama to a miniature. Excuse me.
Okay, you're excused. You're still showing extreme signs of bad taste, man. I will bring you into the ways of the battle pulpit.
After Friday, you're talking to me
Exactly.
about bad taste.
Quantum lock
If
it.
you've not watched Pointless Views yet, please go and check it out for Warren.
Quantum lock it. If Justin doesn't like it, then it's definitely no taste.
Okay, right.
as well.
Dark
well as
Angels.
Well,
Yeah. So as well as the Battle Sisters that are going to be coming out for pre-order this weekend, we've also got pre-orders for the new Psychic Awakening book, which will feature the Ritual of the Damned. And this is as I've said before in the past, it's going to feature a sort of battle between the Dark Angels and the Grey Knights versus the Thousand Sons under Magnus the Red, the returned anti-Primarch, effectively, for the Chaos Forces. The interesting thing here as well is that the Master Lazarus kit actually also allows you to build a set of, well, at least one Primaris Master instead if you want to. So if you don't actually want to field the rather overzealous figure of Master Lazarus, then you can instead go for a Primaris Master and use that to sort of bulk up your Dark Angels force going forward. The interesting thing about this one as well is that I've heard a couple of like mutterings in the comments and across the website and that kind of thing, is that a lot of the stuff that's been done already for this Psychic Awakening hasn't really changed things quite as much as people would want, but they're really hoping that this one, because we're seeing a massive clash between, you know, Space Marines and Chaos, is actually going to, heighten things to that next level. And there's also been a couple of mutterings in some of the kind of fluff that people have been reading as part of the Psychic Awakening that there may even be an Imperial Civil War coming up, which will be very, very interesting to see how that develops. But yeah, so that's the next step in the story for the Psychic Awakening coming as well.
I'm going to be very sad if at the end of this particular book, the Grey Knights don't just murder all the Dark Angels. Because that's what they do in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've seen demons and stuff and you fought with the Grey Knights, chances are at the end of the fight, they're going to have to kill you just so you don't tell anyone about it.
Yeah, but not other Space Marines.
I think
who
they
are
have killed
very,
other Space
who
Marines
are
before.
very aware that demons exist. On the grounds,
I think
half
they've done
of
it to
their
other Space Marines
brothers
before.
joined
Turned
the
into them,
demons
yeah.
and left. It's not
Yeah.
like they've never seen them.
This Civil War thing sounds interesting.
Mm.
So it does. But
That'll all kick in when Rowboat goes, look, unplug that, I'm in charge now with my
Yeah,
Primaris.
there has been
Yeah.
a lot of mutterings in sort of forums and stuff that potentially Rowboat Girlyman or Robute Girlyman is going to sort of step away from the kind of Imperium that everybody knows, and that's going to cause a little bit of a rift between the different chapters.
so he's going to
of the
create the
Imperium
new
itself.
World Order Imperium, yeah?
I'm
Well,
glad to see
there's-
the Dark Angels haven't Primarist up their chapter master for once.
Yeah.
That, at least one of them has survived.
Yeah, because I was
Because Lazarus
wondering
is
that.
not their
Oh, yeah.
their chapter master.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Azrael is still their chapter.
Yeah.
master.
Mhm.
And maybe he put the foot down and went, look, no, I'm not going to do it.
How can you tell he's not a Primaris, though?
Denise.
Who's Denise? Is that his wife?
The knees on these are Primarist, but this isn't their current chapter master. This is a new character.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
So,
not him, the other one with the wings.
Well, I think it's the same kit.
it is the same kit, but that.
The particular character there, Master Lazarus, has a very specific background that focuses on his hatred of Psykers, because he fought in a battle against some of the Thousand Sons, and they absolutely basically destroyed his mind and body with psychic energy. And so he had the only way for him to survive was to go through the Rubicon Primaris, and so that's why he's the first of the Dark Angels to go through that process. There's actually been a little bit of an interesting fluff snippet that was included in the book quite recently, which was talking about the idea that now the Dark Angels have basically gone, well, everybody hates us anyway. Why don't we just become Primaris, even though we've tried to stay away from it for so long, because it's not going to change anyone's view of exactly who we are. So they are sort of moving in that direction and sort of having that discussion within
So
the Dark
they're
Angels.
selling out.
Shocking.
Seeming
although,
so, yes.
although there's your Civil War. It won't be the Grey Knights attacking the Dark Angels. every Grey Knight is a psyker. There are no non-psychic Grey Knights.
This is a fair
And
point.
if Chuckles there doesn't like them,
Mm.
I imagine once the fight's done, he'll just stab somebody up.
He'll turn
Yeah.
on him. Yeah.
Well,
Maybe.
I have to wonder just how many of the Dark Angels are going to get turned into Primaris, and if the Primaris ones are going to be kept in the outside circle that don't know about everything that's in the rock.
I don't care. I have a lovely Dark Angel army that I'm working on at the moment. One that I picked up and now tidying it up and rebasing it.
Nice.
And they're all original Marines, proper Marines.
One
So
Moon Marine.
None of this girly man stuff.
Are they all beaky as well? Because that's important.
And they're going to be, it means that when the Civil War comes, they're all going to be on the right side.
Right side of history. That's
You
the
know,
one.
the Civil War is absolutely going to be the old Marines versus Primaris Marines. And guess what?
Possibly.
There's a lot more of us. There's a lot of Primaris sold, but there's still a lot more of us.
Yeah, but the Primaris are just better.
Doesn't matter, man. Doesn't matter.
It's a numbers game.
Stumpy Marines for the win.
Well,
And the
I'll
more,
just go back and watch Kurt Russell and Soldier again.
yes,
Which I did recently anyway.
Although there's still quite a bit of tension between Belisarius Collin, the Adeptus Mechanicus, at the minute,
Yeah.
because he doesn't really follow all of their tenants,
Uh-huh.
and they're kind of hunting him down. And
More
he keeps
Carlsberg, man.
he keeps pushing Gulliman to make him Fabricator General, but Gulliman keeps saying no.
Right. There's an awful lot going on in this universe now, isn't it? It's a long way from the old days of the goodies and the baddies, really, isn't it?
It's
But
gone all American soap opera.
yeah, it kind of has. It's like Neighbors in space with demons, isn't it? It's, right.
Who's the Carl Kennedy of the 40k universe? I don't know.
The fact that
It'll be some apothecary somewhere. So, so
Sister Catherine, played by Kylie Minogue.
next up, Infinity and Aristeia releases for February. What have we got? Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of new stuff coming out. This is all sort of pegged for the end of February for us to check out. But obviously, the guys at Corvus Belli like to give everyone a little bit of a heads up about what's coming up. So we've got the Mukhtar. We've also got an Intel Spec Ops figure, which doesn't specifically have any rules just yet, but you could use it as a whole bunch of different characters within your force, and also potentially as an objective in your games as well. There's also the Umbra, which people have been absolutely gagging to pick up. And as you can tell, they're very awesome looking alien creatures for the Combine there. And anyone who likes Reaper in Overwatch is probably going to want to pick up some of the Umbra stuff anyway. And then finally, my actual favorite bit of releases for the end of February for Infinity is actually the Agents of the Human Sphere, because I think they're really awesome, and they kind of add into not only just the skirmish game, because they can obviously be used as very important people in your objective games and that kind
high-value
of thing,
targets.
but also they could also be used in the role-playing game as well. So if
Yeah,
you're going to be playing
cool.
role-playing game from Modiphius, then you can use these as your characters or NPCs that you could bump into as well, which I thought was really cool.
Weirdly, my favourite bit out of all of those, and I'm not sure when this has come in. Pull up one of the big pictures again. Pull up that picture. That'll do the job. Notice how they've got things on their bases. So you've got arcs of fire on them now. So you're not having to paint stuff on.
That's interesting.
And they're all on there. They're all, every one that's scrolled past, with the exception of the Reapery people have got them. I'm looking at that going, ooh.
That is cool. I haven't noticed that before.
I can't remember how new that is, but
Yeah.
They all have it.
Nice. There
That's
you
cool.
go.
yeah.
Okay, next up we have the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount announced for D&D.
Yeah, sure. So just quickly, just to go back, as well as the Infinity releases, there were some Aristeia releases, but I'm going to let you have a little look at the pictures, but then we've done an unboxing, which I'll link down in the description below for you to go and check out as well. So bear that in mind.
No problem.
But anyway, on to this one, because I'm very excited about this.
I thought
So-
you might be.
So this is the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, which is for Dungeons and Dragons, and this is the first proper universe that's entirely original that has been ported into Dungeons and Dragons since Eberron, which was a long time ago. This is the world of
Ever long
Exandria.
ago.
Yeah, so,
Oh, dear.
this is the world of Exandria that was created by Matt Mercer. for
My
the
man
Critical
Crush.
Role.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the Critical Role universe. And Wildemount itself is the continent where the setting of Campaign 2 takes place following the Mighty Nine and their adventures. The cool thing about this is that it's going to include loads and loads of world building stuff for the world of Exandria and Wildemount itself. There's going to be a whole bunch of new spells and spellcasting classes for you to get involved with if you love your wizards, because he's done some absolutely amazing stuff with the idea of metaphysics and time. So if you like the dunamancy spells that he's been showcasing in the campaign, they're all about
Okay,
time,
whoa.
warping
What
time.
is dunamancy?
Cool.
Is
So
that not moving
dunamancy-
sand around?
No, in fact, there's no worms involved.
Mood.
Dunamancy is a type of spellcasting which works with the kind of fabric of reality and time and warping it, and the elements of possibility within that as well.
So what's the difference between that and chronomancy then?
Well, chronomancy, of course, is basically the same thing, but this is his version of it and his own take of it within that same sort of within his universe.
Right.
As well as it being used by spellcasters within his universe, he's also developed a new class which is kind of like, it's called the Echo Knight. So it's a sort of sword and board style fighter who can use this kind of reality bending abilities and magic in order to create duplicates of himself from like past moments and future moments to help them in fighting, which is pretty awesome and very, very cool. As well as that, they're including new monsters from the world of Exandria. They're also including a whole bunch of adventure hooks for you to go and explore when you're diving into the different regions of Wildemount 2. And there's also going to be this really nice section at the back of the book, which will allow you to create your characters and then tie them directly into his world without having to do too much reading through the use of tables and that kind of thing. So if you really want to feel invested in the world of Exandria and Wildemount, then you've got those options there too. Now, there was an interesting thing as well that came out of this, and there's a big discussion about the fact that, hey, why are we introducing this new setting when there's loads of other settings that we want to bring to the fore, like Dark Sun and Dragonlance and that kind of thing? And Matt Mercer apparently did talk with Wizards of the Coast about this, and they said that they're still going to be developing all of those, but it seemed like a prime time to include what he's been doing with D&D and bring that into the universe. And to be honest, it makes them a lot of money, so it probably makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
On top of that, there's no reason that you have to set your campaign in his world. You could just take all of the ideas that he's created in this book and use them in your own campaigns. So there's loads of stuff in there in terms of a toolkit for adventures to get stuck into. And I can't wait to read it because of all the lore, lovely lore that's going to be in there. So yum, 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 yum.
It's a very valid point. If people are getting into D&D and hearing about D&D through the likes of Critical Role,
This is the way to do it, yeah.
then why pull something like, I mean, I love Dragonlance, but it's 30 plus years old now.
Something like that.
So it can wait another year and it won't make a difference. Whereas, you've got people interested in hit it now. It's the Green Lantern theory. When you've got people very keen on Green Lantern because of the Jon Stewart Green Lantern cartoon series, then why pull Hal Jordan back as the film?
Yeah.
Introduce a whole other character that people aren't aware of. Likewise, and why pull back old stuff? As much as I love, I will quite happily watch Dragonlance all day long. But yeah,
one of the other interesting things about this that's come up in a lot of the discussions on Twitter and on Reddit and that kind of thing as well is that, as we're saying, this is the kind of thing that's bringing people into Dungeons and Dragons and 5th edition for the first time. And it's very viable that in 20, 30 years, people are going to be like, oh, how did you get into D&D? And it'll be basically exactly the same thing as what people have said with Dragonlance. And they were like, I watched this show called Critical Role and I loved the world of Exandria and Wildemount and stuff. So yeah, it's a pretty awesome looking book and it should be coming out in March. So
Yeah,
not
glad
too
to
long
see
to
it.
wait for
Glad to see it. Okay, next up, exciting news. There's some really interesting stuff going on from Osprey at the moment. So we have Oathmark, Battles of the Lost Age. Now we're starting to see our first kind of content and discussions and stuff around this, and I believe there's some really interesting kind of campaign building possibilities and things going on in this.
Yeah, so Osprey and Joseph McCullin, who is the writer behind Oathmark Battles of the Lost Age, put together a couple of previews over the last couple of days looking at the kingdom building aspect of the game. And so one of the big focuses of this is that when you set up to either dive into a campaign or maybe if you're going to be playing it, a couple of games over a weekend or something, what you'll do before you even get to the army building stage is you'll start to build your kingdom. And there is actually a PDF that you should be able to check out as well and have a look through some of the pages of this. But what you'll do is you'll choose your primary race or a series of different races, and you'll start to build up not only just the center of your kingdom, but all the outlying areas of it as well. And this will dictate what kind of units you can bring with you to play your games of Oathmark on the table, which is going to be a big mass battle fantasy game that you're going to be able to play. The cool thing about this as well is that obviously they've been showing stuff off in this PDF that gives us kind of a little bit of a glimpse towards the army building side of things. But this is also going to be leading into how campaigns generate in the future as well. And so one of the things that Osprey have been talking about is that not only do you have to, look at your kingdom as something that you can expand later on and involve extra sort of areas of the continent into, but also if your enemy is going to be attacking you and taking out certain sections of your kingdom, you won't lose the units completely, but they'll be fighting at a less, optimum level, as it were. So there's some really interesting things going into the mix here, and they're also going to be developing a lot more of this going forward as well, because Joseph McCullum has done a lot of stuff in the past, obviously with Frostgrave and Rangers of Shadow Deep, so he knows how to plan out campaigns and that adventurous spirit to things. So hopefully that's going to be drawn out into this in the mass battle space as well as.
Is this a separate universe then to Frostgrave?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware, it's completely different.
So my key questions on this one, okay? It's a fantasy setting.
Yes.
Yes.
It's base and army agnostic in that sense, because I see general tropes like dwarves, elves, humans. Yeah. So could I pick out one of my agnostic armies? Do we know that if the base
it's on sweet square bases,
like nature intended?
There it is, right there, Warren. Just for you, buddy, right there.
Gutted.
Like nature intended.
But they're individual guys on square bases, are they?
Yeah, but the footprint is set.
Individual guys on bases.
All right, so it needs a particular footprint for the.
You're on 25 mil squares, and then you rank 5 wide, and then you're 5 files, and then your ranks go back from there up to a max of 20 in a unit.
Not a problem for me, because I've been using 1p pieces and I can just print adapters.
Yeah, you can do your base converters.
All my infantry on 32 mil round bases.
Yeah, which is too big.
You can get like 3 man.
You'll be pleased to know that they have sort of done a little bit more of a refined combat system. So it's not going to be it's not going to be as granular as some games are. It's a lot quicker to play, and also at the
because I'm completely locked out of Kings of War. I'm complete in any kind of visual sense, because I was having a look at to try and see if I could create conversion bases to take my agnostic armies to put them into Kings of War, and on like a 10-man base I can fit 3.
Not a problem for me, because I used 1p pieces.
So I wonder if I'm going to end up having to. If
just have to start another army.
I might just have to start another army, because I'm really keen to get into this because of the whole kingdom building aspect of it.
Here's the thing, though: the Oathmark minis themselves are really sweet.
That's what I was about to ask. They do miniature ranges.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing them. I believe some have even arrived to the studio in recent times. So
yeah, Jerry has been hovering over that box, waiting to crack them open.
I will also say that at the very beginner level of playing the game, they've said that they've given hints that it only takes effectively 2 boxes of troops to play. So the actual entry point for it is pretty small. Yeah. And then from that point on, it sort of develops a little bit like the old version of Warhammer that a lot of people grew up with. So
and there are unit caps as well. So you can't have more than 4 of the same type of unit. So regardless of what your territories provide. Say, for example, you have don't show me that, show me a regular army. Yeah, one of those.
One of these? There you go.
So even though you can have your, say, 3 outposts and 2 kennels and a blah, 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 whatever it happens to be, you're limited into the amount of units that you can pull in, depending on what you have in your territories, but then you're still capped at 4. So if you have dwarf soldier regiments, you can only have a maximum of 80 men, 4 units of 20. You can't have 5, even though you may gain the territory that would allow you to have a 5th. So the buy-in seems to be relatively low, with a lot of flexibility in it, but at the same time the mechanics are there to stop spam. I imagine it's to stop spam lists where people can just go, well, I can just spam X number of this and it'll be terrible.
Units of Wolf Riders, have fun. I actually think I have some of the Oathmark dwarfs at home. I might have to dig them out.
I have some of them kicking around too. Those are the funky looking ones with the they look almost a bit gnomish.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Right. Ben, we set you the task to pick us out 2 Kickstarters. Enlighten us, my man. What are we backing this week?
Okay, so the first one is one that we teased last week, and now it's back, and it's massive, and it would be remiss of me to miss it out. And this is Return to Dark Tower by Restoration Games. So this is the reinvention of an 80s classic that has been brought back with new technology and all sorts of bits and pieces in terms of new art and mechanics and refined elements of that too. The game plays for between 1 to 4 players, and a session will probably last about an hour and a half. The idea is that you're going to be playing as a band of adventurers who are seeking to complete a main quest, which enables you to get inside the Dark Tower in the center of the board, cleanse the corruption from the Empire, and defeat the big villain. The interesting thing about this is that both the tower, which is electronically controlled, and also a companion app for the game as well, will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So on your turn, you'll be doing the typical things that you might expect to be doing in a fantasy adventure game. You'll be moving to region, cleansing corruption from buildings and defeating monsters, and searching for quests that will allow you to enter the tower and fight the villain themselves. As you do all of this, the app will be remembering exactly what you've been doing, and it will do all the maths for you when it comes to adding up exactly what the enemies can do and what you can do, and you'll be resolving all of your stuff through that. As well as that, the app is then connected to the electronic tower in the center of the board. Now, at the end of every turn, a player will put a skull into the top of the tower, which counts as what's called corruption in the game. And this is what's used to effectively be the sort of like balancer against the heroes. At various times throughout the game, the tower will start to activate, which means that it will glow with light, it will be very ominous, and sound will leak out of it as well. And then certain doors will open, and skulls, this corruption, will fall out into certain segments of the board, and they will corrupt certain buildings there too. Additionally, little glyphs along the side of the tower will start to light up and glow, and when they're facing you in your kingdom, they will give you they'll give you penalties, so maybe they'll make it harder for you to fight or harder for you to cleanse corruption and that kind of thing. And then those will stay on you. Maybe they'll rotate around to different people in the kingdom as well. And all this is tied together, and the tower is then actively trying to stop you at many different points. And it will be remembering what you do as heroes and which kingdoms are flourishing and which ones are not, and it will start to try and balance things against you to try and make sure that all of you are losing pretty much equally. The campaign itself is focused on both a core box, as you can see there, which allows you to have 4 heroes, a really nice board, absolutely stunning artwork in the game, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. There's the massive tower, and of course you've got to have the app too. As well as that, there's an expansion which adds 2 new heroes into the mix, a whole bunch of new agents would allow you to follow different quests in order to defeat the final villain. And there's also another box that will involve miniatures. So this is by the guys at Punga, who've done some absolutely stunning stuff in the past in terms of like Maori creatures and that kind of thing. They've done all the sculpting for these guys at Restoration, and you'll be able to replace all of the cardboard tokens that you get in the game with plastic figures instead. The game looks pretty cool. I've watched a couple of playthroughs of it already. It seems really fun, and while I thought the tower to begin with was maybe going to feel like a little bit more of a tacked-on element to the game, it actually genuinely seems to have a really nice effect on gameplay when people are sitting around it, and I think it was potentially going to be another big hit for Restoration this one.
Awesome.
I am quite surprised at just how integrated that tower is. I mean, did you see the inside?
Yeah,
cutaway?
I did. Yeah.
The amount of moving parts that are in there.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
I was wondering why they didn't build something like that with like a Google Mini in it. You know, like the Google Home Mini.
They did actually address this in some of the comments that came up on YouTube, and I believe it was through Twitter as well, is that the game would have become prohibitively expensive, they think, at that point. And so having the app as the connection to that tower seemed to be like the right idea for them. Just to note on the app itself, a lot of people obviously talk about the idea that at some point the app will be out of, production, that kind of thing. They have said that they're going to be keeping control of the app for as long as they can, and as soon as they can't, work on the app in any sense or whatever, or something happens, they're going to make it entirely open source. So be able to just use it on whatever computer you have or laptop or whatever you want, and then people could do whatever they want with the app going forward. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that means that the game would effectively never be unplayable in that state.
Feeling like just get a eBay search for Kerplunk.
Yes.
Place the Dark Tower that and just drop in skulls every turn and wherever they bounce out to.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay, next up we have the Chronicles of Empire and Exile. Just before we get to that, obviously Return of the Dark Tower is funded. 17 days left to go, guys.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, your next one, Ben. Oh, horsies.
Yeah, so Oath, Chronicles of Empire and Exile, is a new game from the creator of Root, which is a game that has delighted many, many people, but also is a little bit of a marmite to some as well. This is what effectively a lot of people have called the antidote to the traditional legacy game. The game plays with between 1 to 6 people, and you all take on the role of what are called exiles and citizens, and also the Chancellor, who are trying to bring forward their ideal and vision for a kingdom. And through each game, you'll be doing things that will then affect every subsequent game you play of Oath going forward. This sounds like a typical legacy game.
It does.
The interesting thing here is that there's no ripping up of things. There's no revealing of anything or anything like that. All there is like slightly different cards will have slightly different abilities as the game plays through. And you don't need to have the same group of people for every game you play. You could play this with 6 players for one session and create a whole bunch of different stories because the game lasts about 45 minutes. And then you could just play the game by yourself for a couple of sessions and change things and warp the world so that when people come back to it, the gameplay is effectively still the same, but the stories that you're telling are just a little bit different from the way they were before. Now, I am going to say, as I said at the start of this, it does sound a little bit more complicated than I think many people will probably be used to when it comes to board games. Root itself is definitely a game that benefited from having a lot of people that knew exactly how to play it before you really dived in. And I think this is probably going to have more or less the same kind of level of intensity and sort of integral sort of knowledge that you need in order to play it. But from what I've seen of it, read through the rulebook and all that kind of thing, it does seem like a really fascinating idea. And I really like the idea that they're doing this so there's no end point effectively for it. Things will just be continually changing as you play through different games and developing and all that kind of thing. And I think it's a really fascinating idea. It's very, very minimal. It comes on a very small map. There's, basically all of the gameplay is done through cards. They said that the setup and takedown is about 3 to 6 minutes, which is amazing. And obviously it saves the state of the game if you need to. And as I said, sessions last about 45 minutes. So you can play one. And then if you're happy with that, you just leave it on the side and come back in a couple of weeks and it'll be fine. Or you can play multiple in one session if you want to as well. Does sound pretty cool and an interesting take on the legacy idea.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm struggling. I'm struggling with both those Kickstarters. Actually, the Dark Tower really appealed to me until the point it made an app. And I will say,
the app makes me want.
I know the app makes me. The app is why I'm out. Because of it's because of the fact that sooner or later the app will become obsolete, and they could open source it, okay, but there's every chance that they won't open source it, okay, and even if they did open source it, technology and mobile phones and OSs and stuff changes so rapidly.
How is that really a problem though?
It's just a problem.
You'll have your phase where you play the max out of it. You'll be like, oh, this is great, I'm enjoying it, I'm playing, and eventually you just stop playing. And
Maybe.
you'll probably stop playing long before the app.
It just starts to get into the realms of video games, Lloyd. For me,
that's a bloody rotating tower that spits skulls out at you.
But it's planned obsolescence. Maybe I'm being a real grognard here, but part of the reason I like to play with Greebles, Meebles, and Toy Soldiers is the fact that there is no planned obsolescence. The rulebook is always there. The game is always available. I don't need an internet connection. I don't need a device that runs Windows iOS 32. It's just there. It's the unplugged nature of all of this.
The thing is, as Lloyd was saying, the key thing about this is that, in all likelihood, you're going to end up stop playing this before it ever becomes obsolete. But in that case, there are people that have been bringing back games, be they digital or whatever, from the depths of time and bringing them back through things like DOSBox and all sorts of different things. So people who are really hardcore about this kind of thing are always going to find a way to bring it back and make it playable. So I don't think it's too
Maybe I'm a grognard. And do you know what? I'll hold my hands up and say, yeah, maybe I am a grognard. But it feels like crossing the streams, man.
See, I don't know, because we always talk about how much should the app do within the game, and that's always the test of it. Because if this is just there to do housekeeping...
This can't be played without the app.
Yes, but if it's there to do the housekeeping, why should you deny someone the ability to create that game of the complexity where it needs that?
You may not be able to. It might just be too complicated to do it.
That's what I'm saying. You need the app, and if that's the style of game they want to make, and they want to have that depth and complexity in there, I say go for it.
But
absolutely. Look, I don't begrudge the thing existing. I don't begrudge people enjoying it, and best of luck to the creators. But from my own personal perspective, in my grognard seat, with my grognard cigar, my grognard glass of whiskey. I'm looking at this and I think to myself, you know, I loved it. I loved the electronic wizardry of the tower. I thought that was cool. But the app took it a step too far.
What sort of rotation does it do? Like, can we stick a slappy hand on it and like slap people as it goes
I
right?
think it's all
I
internal.
think it's all internal. If you have a look here, I've got the cutaway
I thought you
here
could
for
actually see chunks of it rotating.
No. So it's all internal.
All internal, dog.
Look, the cool thing is the runes on the outside lighting up and giving you debuffs as you're playing.
I love
quite
this bit. I don't mind the bit of electronic wizardry, pokertry in this bit, but like, why not build it all into that?
Because that bit'll break long before your app. That's why.
That's a fair point. If it makes it too
I
complex.
did talk about this, and putting on the app just makes it a lot easier for a lot of people. I will also point out that if you are interested in playing a game that's a bit similar to this, but it involves absolutely no electronics and no apps whatsoever, there's a game called Legends of Andor, which is done by a couple of different companies, was at one point helmed by FFG, but now I believe it's with a different company. I think it's Thames and Cosmos. That game is about rangers across the world and fighting demons and monsters and that kind of thing. And it's all done with your traditional cards and dice and stuff.
Wow.
So
Happy day.
There's so many options. Like when we were kids, our options were play slapsies and hardy knuckles.
Curbsy.
Curbsy.
Curbsy if the
Curbsy. Do you know what, Justin? We need an on-tabletop Hardy Knuckles tournament.
Are you sure?
We'll live stream it. Do you think you could beat me at Hardy Knuckles? No. It's these knuckles here, man. Do you want to have a go?
All right, how do you
What's
play?
that mean? He's gonna get crushed.
Right.
All right.
So hold your hand out like that
right.
there, right? You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So.
Now let me make sure my hand's up off the table, just so I don't send a thumb through this.
No, we take it easy because you build up to this, okay? Oh!
Swing and a miss.
I get 2 shots because you missed. Okay. No, I don't.
Yeah. It is exactly like it sounds. Man.
Oh, that was a good one. Okay, to be continued.
I love it. My wrists aren't up to pin, but hardy knuckles.
Hardy knuckles. Look at him there. But a hardy knuckles with my good hand. This is my bad hand. My mum used to play that with us whenever we were little. It's brilliant. How do you feel? You feel okay?
If you'd had 2 more shots, you would have had me.
Oh,
I was feeling
dude,
it.
I think you're like the McGregor of Hardy Knuckles. You're good at the start, but you lose your legs quickly.
Oh, is this going to be the next challenge for Salute? I have to play Hardy Knuckles with every COG member.
So that's it, yeah, for Salute, Hardy Knuckles. Right, guys, look, that is us. That's your Whirlwind Tour, courtesy of the bearded Ben. Ben, thank you very much. Remember, guys, tomorrow we have XLBS. I'm going to go full grognard. Okay, I'm gonna bring in. I'm working on a Crusades kind of a thing. Okay, and I've had another idea. Okay, Jerry, you inspire me.
I get that a lot.
Okay, your manscaping and everything else is just amazing.
McClunky.
McClunky. But I want to talk to you tomorrow about. Can I turn my little Crusades project into something like your Zulu project?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay, we can talk a bit about that. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you to Jerry. Thank you to Justin. Thank you to Ben. And thank you to Brother Lloyd. Most importantly, thank you to all you guys. You've been amazing. We love you hard. See you next week, dudes. Unless you're really awesome and you see us tomorrow. Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.